What's going on YouTube? It's Giga here bringing you some more Series 9 Wi-Fi battles with live commentary. Once again, we are playing the Zapdos Stakataka team that I've built and hoping we can do well with it. We did pretty well yesterday and I'm hoping to keep that going. So looking at our first game, it is Mineshaw, Garchomp, Clefairy with a Tapu Fini, Celesteela, and Rotom Heat. So looking into this matchup, I think Stakataka is really good. The question is, how do I set up the Trick Room? I think Incin Dusclops is probably my best bet. I don't necessarily know Mineshow's moveset super well, so that makes things a little bit tricky. I do really like Stakataka as well, and then the question is, what do I want in the last slot? Zapdos, I think, has really good matchups into some of the things. I guess the question is, what do I think is the bigger threat? Because Tapu Fini can stop Garchomp, but not and Rotom, but really not much else. Whereas Zapdos can deal with Mineshaw, it can deal with Tapu Fini and the Celesteela. But even then, it probably is Assault Vest. I'm gonna go with Tapu Fini. I think, like I said, if we can set up Trick Room, we are in a really good spot. I do want to quickly look up Mineshow's moveset while we're getting set up. Because the question is, does this learn Trick Room? It could learn Taunt, which is probably what I'm thinking, is that it's going to try and taunt me to stop me from setting up. We are going to see, okay, Mineshaw, Garchomp, Quick Guard. It does have Fake Out. I don't see Taunt. Oh, it does. Okay, so it does have Taunt. So I'm actually expecting it to go for that. We do, see an Adrenaline Orb. So that's interesting. I'm going to expect the Mineshaw to go for a Taunt onto the, what is it called? The Dusclops. So I'm actually just going to do that and then hard swap to Tapu Fini, with the idea that let's just try and reduce the amount of damage being done with Garchomp if it goes for like a dragon move to try and lower my attack, and also just try and get a really good answer to it on the field. Because like I said, I do expect Mineshaw to go just for that taunt into the Dusclops. So we are going to see Swords Dance, which I think, yeah, is expected. They are, going to go for the taunt into Tapu Fini, which is really good news for us because now we are going to be able to get that parting shot into Garchomp and switch right back out to Dusclops and then swap it back in for just another defensive boost. So we can bring out Dusclops once again, swap back into Incineroar, get another Intimidate, and then just start putting on pressure with Tapu Fini. We are unfortunately taunted, but that's not too big of a deal. So we know, yeah, we do see the Focus Sash. Garchomp should be at, oh, okay, so it's at neutral attack. I think we just switch out to Incineroar, and then I kind of want to Moonblast. I'm going to go for a Muddy Water with the idea that if they switch out, I do want to break the Sash on their Mineshaw and just kind of reduce what it can do. Unfortunately, Fini can't really go for a Protect right now, which makes things a little bit awkward. But, I mean, the switch out, yeah, the switch from Dusclops to Incin is super obvious. And so the fear is if my opponent now goes for another Swords Dance and then maxes the subsequent turn. We are going to get an attack drop onto the Landorus, or not the Landorus, the Garchomp to put it at -1. We are going to see the max immediately from Garchomp, which is definitely a little bit scary. I think the fact that it is at -1 is really helpful overall, because that means the output damage isn't going to be that high unless, I mean, I don't think Mineshaw gets coaching. We are going to see a Max Quake probably into the Incin slot. Okay, into the Fini slot. And yeah, because of the fact that they are at -1, it isn't going to do too much. Let's see how much, or what this Mineshaw is going to go for. It's going to go for a taunt onto the Incineroar, which actually is a little bit scary, just due to the fact that this means that we cannot go for a parting shot. So if we want to use something with Incin, we do have to unfortunately swap out. So what I'm thinking is we can't go for a fake out, so we only really have the option of Flare Blitz. So I don't really like that. I'm going to bring out, nope, not the stack. I'm going to bring out Dusclops and Moonblast into Mineshow. I'm going to Moonblast into Mineshow because what I'm thinking is I can probably set up the Trick Room if I can eliminate this Mineshow, because then they can't taunt into Dusclops. So we can subsequently knock out Feeny this next turn, or not knock out, we can switch out Feeny into Incin and then set up while we lower that Garchomp's attack further to make it so it can't really stop Dusclops. So, oh, so they are going to coaching. I think that that's very smart on their end, but we can pretty easily just swap Feeny for Incineroar. So that's what I'm thinking, because yeah, we're going to pick up the easy knockout onto the Mineshow. The Garchomp is at neutral, which definitely is a little bit scary. But like I said, if we can stall out its max, we can be in a pretty good position overall. And I can't really see how my opponent can really stop the Dusclops. I mean, they could have a second Taunter, which isn't unheard of. They're going to bring out Rotom, which is actually, yeah, I mean, Feeny I think is really valuable in this endgame. I'm going to go for a Trick Room, and I'm going to switch to Incin. Luckily, Incin is at full HP, so we do have that going for us, and we can do something like go for a Fake Out or go for a Parting Shot with the Incineroar being where it is in terms of health. So bring out Incin. Like I said, we are going to be able to knock down the Garchomp just a little bit. Rotom is going to be really scary just due to the fact that it is hitting on the special side, and we can't really bring stacks safely in. We are going to see a third Quake, which is fine. It's going to hit into Incin. Incin's going to live, and so now is the question of, are they going to double up into the Dusclops slot, or, I mean, the Incin slot, or go for something else? We are going to see the Nasty Plot. Definitely a little bit scary for sure. But what we can at this point Trick Room up, and I want to Fake Out into, oh, this is bad. This Dusclops doesn't have Brick Break. Do I want to hard switch into stack? I'm going to hard switch into stack. I think just given the fact that... no, because you can easily Earthquake. I'm going to Pain Split into Rotom because those tend to be bulkier. And... I'm going to Pain Split into Garchomp and go for a Fake Out into Rotom, expecting the obvious Protect. So what I'm thinking is, okay, so no Protect. We are going to be able to go for the Pain Split onto this Garchomp. I mean, every little bit counts. And, oh, okay, so they're going to Swords Dance. So this is actually getting really scary, because of the fact that we don't actually have a good switch. I think at this point we have to choose, right? I think, no, because I expect the Earthquake. That's what's hard. I'm just going to Brick Break onto Garchomp and then go for a Parting Shot onto the Rotom. I think this is, yeah, this is going to be hard. We are going to see the Protect from Garchomp. Okay, so this is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. We are going to fail the Brick Break, and then we can Parting Shot from the Rotom. So what? They could Thunderbolt. They could also Overheat. I do think Stack is a safe switch nonetheless, and then we can max to Rockfall into the Rotom to get the defense boost before we have to deal with... Okay, so this is a tricky position because I think we swap out to Incin, max the stack, and go for a Rock Slide into... we could Steel... No, I'm going to Rockfall into the Rotom. Because my thought process is we can keep cycling Intimidates onto the Garchomp. It is definitely a little bit scary, the fact that we are giving this Garchomp basically free reign to go for a big attack onto the Stakataka. But what I'm thinking is, what if it's an Earthquake? Then the damage is spread, so I can hope that they proc my policy. Obviously, the big fear is that they don't protect with Rotom this turn, and they will be able to not let me get a defense boost and just knock out my Incineroar. We do see the very obvious protect. I felt like I had to go for it though, just because I couldn't really afford to let Stakataka take that much damage if I didn't. So we are gonna get off the Rockfall, which, like I said, is unfortunately not going to get us a defense boost. And so now expecting an Earthquake from this Garchomp would make the most sense. But, yep, there's the Earthquake. If Stakataka lives, I think we're in a really good position. But I don't really expect it to. Stakataka... Okay, this is actually really good, because Stak is going to live. So we are going to proc the weakness policy. The main question, though, is... I don't know how many turns of Trick Room are left because I haven't been counting, and that's going to make things really tricky. I think Dusclops is always the right choice here. Actually, that's 100% not true. I mean, it could be, but I just don't know. There are turns of Trick Room left. Okay, so I think there's one turn, right? Yeah, this is the last turn of Trick Room. I think we Brick Break the Garchomp and then go for a Rockfall into the Rotom. Because now what I can do is I can boost my defense. The big fear, though, is the fact that this Garchomp is going to be able to get another Earthquake off. So what I would need to do then is what? I would need to max guard and set up a second Trick Room. We are going to pick up the knockout onto the Rotom. I feel like maybe we could have... we should have ally switched and gone for the Gyro Ball. Because, yeah, we're going to take another Earthquake. Stakataka does take it. I should be able to live another one. But obviously the fear is getting doubled up into. So now, what is my opponent going to bring out? Because, yeah, Dusclops did take a lot. And we are going to see a Tapu Fini from my opponent. So I actually really expect an Earthquake. I expect what? Earthquake with Moonblast? I have to go for a Trick Room. I think I have to play a little bit offensively here and just go for a Steel Spike into Garchomp, right? Because why? Earthquake. I should live another Earthquake. They could double up with... I mean, they could double up with Fini onto stack. So actually, I'm going to ally switch, expecting them to hit into stack, and then go for a Steel Spike onto the Garchomp. We are... Okay, so no Protect coming out from my opponent. Makes sense. We're going to see an Earthquake. Hopefully... Yep, Stakataka lives. That's perfect. Oh, very smart. Oh, yeah, that was what I was afraid of. I should have max guarded and gone for the Trick Room. I feel like that was super obvious. I just expected them... I don't know why I expected them to go for a Moonblast. I could have... Yeah, guard with Moonblast was just such a safe option. And now, yeah, that move through it. I think if we had done that, we would have had Stack being able to go for Rock Slides under Trick Room to deal with the Feeny, and we could have worked to kind of keep that Garchomp in bay for Tapu Fini. But at this point, I don't really see an out, like I said, unless this Earthquake. I don't actually think the Earthquake will KO. They are going to go for Rock Slide, which I think is smart. You're trying to flinch. I need Dusclops. Dusclops is going to take that. So the question now is, oh, you're going to single target Moonblast. Very smart. Do I take that 38 down to 5? Okay, Dusclops really coming in clutch. We do get the Trick Room off. It is unfortunate, though, because of the fact that it is going to go down to Sandstorm. Whereas, yeah, we should have... that was such a wrong play. And unfortunately, their Tapu Fini took damage first. So their Tapu Fini is slower than mine. So they're going to be able to get off a Moonblast. Yeah, that... I think it was a really easy protect with Stakataka. And I don't know why I felt the need to be so hyper offensive in that slot. Like, I don't think there was a good cause for it. We could be speed tied. No, we're not. Yeah, I think... Yeah, there was no reason to assume it was going to be anything other than a double up. So the protect would have made it so Stakataka lived, and then I would have been able to probably gyro ball into the Tapu Fini the subsequent turn to knock it out, and then I would have the ability to switch in my Tapu Fini versus their Garchomp under Trick Room, and I would have won. So not definitely the best showing, but first game, and sometimes that happens. But let's keep rocking and rolling and move right to game number 2. All right, game number 2, and interesting. It is Heatran with a Moongus, Rotom Wash, a Grimmsnarl, a Galarian Moltres, and Porygon 2. So I really like Feeny Rillaboom. I also really like Feeny Incin. Zapdos is tempting because it deals with a lot, except for Heatran. I could do Incin Zapdos. I don't really see my... do I want to do Incin Zapdos? Incin Zapdos is tempting. Incin Zapdos, right? Yeah, I think those two... I feel like I have to bring Rillaboom Feeny, right? Because Tapu Fini deals with Grimmsnarl and Moltres really well, and the Heatran. I need Incin, yeah. I think this is probably my best bet. I want to try and max... the Feeny if possible. But I really think it depends on what my opponent brings. I do think Feeny is a really good answer to my opponent's team. There was the argument for... There's actually a really good argument for Trick Room, especially because Dusclops has Brick Break. So I could have actually gone Clops Stack, turn 1, go for a Trick Room, turn 2, Brick Break while I knock out their Grimmsnarl. Because yeah, we are going to see Porygon Grimmsnarl. I think that's fine. We can... I don't actually want to commit to a max, because yeah, now this Grimmsnarl is really, really tricky. I'm trying to think, would my opponent go for... Is there a reason for them... Okay, so we do get the attack raise, which is great. Is there a reason for them to go for Trick Room? I'm still going to fake out into Grimmsnarl and Thunderbolt into Porygon. I don't see a reason they would go for Trick Room, especially with seeing Stakataka. I mean, if they do, predicting that I don't have Stack, really good call on their part. They could also be maxing Porygon 2, which isn't the most unheard of thing in the world, and honestly a really good option looking into my team, because I don't have a ton of great damage onto it. I do actually have Rillaboom with knockoff, which puts us in a really good position, because it honestly really is just for these cases where you have really bulky Eviolite users. So we are going to get a Thunderbolt off onto the Porygon. It's going to do a good amount of damage, but okay, so they're going straight for a Tri-Attack, probably expecting something like a taunt. So I'm actually going to just taunt the Grimmsnarl and go for another Thunderbolt on the Porygon. I do want to get damage onto it. I should have taunted into the Porygon because now it can... Well, no, because it can't really recover if we go for another Thunderbolt. And so what I'm trying to do is stop another Light Screen, because if they go for that, I can just taunt into the Porygon to the next turn. And I'm just trying to get a lot of damage off. And while Incin isn't necessarily looking the best right now, we do have Rillaboom with the Grassy Terrain recovery, so I'm kind of hoping to use that to get back into a good spot. So let's see. But yeah, I actually think, especially given the fact that my opponent led this, if I had just gone for the option of, what's it called, stack Porygon, or not stack Porygon, stack Dusclops, I would have been in a really good spot. We do get the taunt onto Grimmsnarl, which is great because it's going to go for a Spirit Break, and we are going to see the Ice Beam come out into the Zapdos. Oh, yikes. This is a lot of damage. I'm going to taunt into Porygon 2, and then... yeah, just try and pick up... I'm going to try and pick up the knockout this way. I think that the combination of them doubling up with Grimmsnarl and Porygon will definitely pick up the KO onto Zapdos, and then maybe... I mean, yeah, because you Spirit Break into Zapdos, and then you go for a Tri-Attack onto Incin, and that's fine, because then I can bring out Tapu Fini, because we know half their team doesn't do well into Tapu Fini, and everything that doesn't really do that well into Rillaboom. So we are going to see the switch out from Porygon 2 into Heatran. So, okay, that's fine. That's something that doesn't really like dealing with Tapu Fini. We are going to most likely go down to a Spirit Break, as we do pick up this taunt onto Heatran, right? Yeah, so if we bring out Fini, yep, there's the Spirit Break onto the Zapdos, which is fine. We do get the Paralysis onto the Grimmsnarl, which is actually a really big deal. We can then, bring out... We can bring out Fini to go for a Max Geyser as we start dealing with this Grimmsnarl slowly but surely. Because, yeah, we know it is tricky, though, just because of the fact that I don't really want Grimmsnarl to stay around to go for a Spirit Break. So I'm actually just going to target into the Grimmsnarl. I'm going to go for a Parting Shot onto the Heatran, and I'm going to just Moonblast into the Grimmsnarl. Just trying to get rid of it off the bat so we can be in a better position. Because, yeah, now that we know that they have Heatran, I feel a lot more confident with Fini trying to go for a sweep in the back. We do see the swap out into Porygon 2, which is pretty nice because that means they're going to take a decent amount of damage onto this Porygon 2, so that's not something I have to worry about. Moonblast will... not an ideal amount of damage, but it still is damage. They're going to go for that onto my Incin. Incin will live. We are able to pick up the... what's it called? The Parting Shot, English. And then we can switch out into Rillaboom. So Rillaboom's going to allow for some passive recovery. I think at this point we can just fake out into the Porygon and then go for a Max Geyser into the Heatran, right? Yeah, given how much Heatran took off the Thunderbolt, I feel like Stab's super effective. Max move should do enough. So we're going to just fake out here. We could just knock off and then go for a Max Geyser onto the Heatran. I think that's a little bit risky, but honestly, because we know that Tapu Fini moves before Heatran, so we can set up the rain. So even if they try and Max Flare onto the Rillaboom, we will have the weather to reduce the amount of damage. So we can always reduce the amount of damage Rillaboom will take. And then once we fake out into the Porygon, we can just go for I want to go for a Wood Hammer just to be safe. I don't really want to chance it on something like Grassy Glide not picking up the knockout. So they're not going to switch. And I mean, they could be weakness policy Heatran. I think that would be really weird and not match with their team. But I mean, they do have a light screen up, so it's hard to tell. I probably should have maxed Feeny last turn, but the big fear was the Spirit Break for sure. And okay, so they're not even going to max the Heatran, which is really interesting to me. We are going to be able to pick up a Max Geyser. I hope this picks up the knockout. It won't. Yeah, it's close, but it doesn't. But because of the fact that there is the rain, I don't see this Heatran doing that much damage. Yeah, even Rillaboom is able to tank that super well. And we can, yeah, we recover all of what we lost off of that Heat Wave. And I think at this point we can safely go for another Geyser and then go for a Wood Hammer onto Porygon. It is just, I think, a little bit scary. Right, what do they have in the back? They do have Moltres. Yeah, so they still have their Maxmon in the back. I'm going to go for a Wood Hammer here and another Max Geyser into the Heatran. So what I'm thinking is, depending on what they have in the back, there's probably a couple ways we can play this. The big fear is definitely going to be Moltres, just due to the fact that my Incin is so low and Rillaboom can't really take a hit right now, especially if it's a Hurricane variant, because I don't necessarily want to set off a weakness policy on it and then have it just pick up like a free knockout essentially. And wow, we are seeing a frame rate drop. Hopefully that'll come back soon. We do get the knockout onto this Heatran, which is gonna force whatever they are Dynamaxing to come out. And we do get another Wood Hammer, or not another, we do get a Wood Hammer off into this Porygon 2 to knock it out. So this is a little bit tricky, I think, because we don't have Zapdos anymore. But it's also, yeah, I think it depends on what my opponent's fourth is. I do expect it to be that Moltres, which makes things really scary, because what you can easily do is protect the Moltres. Oh! Okay, so they have Rotom, which is a really good position to be in, especially due to the fact that we have Grassy Terrain. So we can easily just go for a Grassy Glide here and then go for a Starfall. Actually, we don't even need to Grassy Glide. We can just Wood Hammer. Why take a chance? We're going to Wood Hammer and we're going to Starfall into the Grimmsnarl. Because now what? They can't knock out both things. And honestly, I don't think they have the ability to knock out the what's it called? The Rillaboom with Rotom. The fear obviously is if they have what am I trying to say? If they have Will-O-Wisp, but they don't. Okay, so they're gonna max. So now I think it really comes down to speed, because if we have the Tapu Fini outspeed, I feel really good because we will get that Moonblast chip. We are going to see Grimmsnarl. Oh, okay, so they are fake tears, which is a little bit scary. If we can live one hit, I think the play would then be to swap out into Incineroar to basically try and waste as much of their max as possible. I don't think that crit, I mean, yeah, it's not, I don't think that crit definitely did not matter. We can definitely divert some of their attention away. The problem though is if they are faster and pick up this knockout, we are in a really bad position. They are going to go for the Geyser onto Rillaboom. 178, please be above 0. 23 is more than 0. And now we are going to get a big Wood Hammer off into this Rotom. And yeah, unfortunately, that's bad. That actually might be the game. Because what? Incin cannot deal with the Rotom. I could what? Protect and go for a Parting Shot, expecting Thunderbolt into Feeny. We know that Feeny is also faster, so what I'm thinking is, yeah, they don't have Electric Terrain up, Let's just, and they don't have a nasty plot. Let's go for a parting shot here and a protect. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lower their special attack and also boost my special defense. I did not expect them to live the wood hammer. I guess I should have, yeah, I should have grassy glided just to be safe. And then when I lived, I could have swapped out into Incin to try and stall them out and set up for Rillaboom in the end game. Because now I think I definitely threw this match. I don't think it's quite over yet because of the fact that if they target into into Feeny, then we can be in a pretty good position because we can get up a Calm Mind. They are going to Lightning into Incin. Very smart play. Yeah. I think that should be the game then, because I don't see me living a stab super effective max lightning. I mean, let's see. It's still worth going for. I think we have to Calm Mind, and then depending on how much damage they take, because then their max will be over. So what I'm thinking is if we live, oh yeah, that was a super smart read on there, Carl. And I mean, yeah, I think it was super obvious to protect Feeny to try and parting shot into Rotom. So what I'm thinking is let's try and survive a hit. We are going to be at not obviously ideal HP, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's enough. I think it might be worth shifting some of Tapu Feny's speed into more bulk, especially given the fact that, okay, this is not the worst situation in the world. Right? Because what, 52, 62. Okay, so we have 62 left. So we took 100. Their light screen has worn off. I'm going to expect them to nasty plot. I think I'm going to make a really hard read and go for a second Calm Mind. But I think after the fact that they're no longer maxed and we can get to +2, we should be able to live another one. So I'm going to expect them to hit nasty plot. I think this is a really aggressive read. Yeah, I should have glided with Rillaboom and then swapped out to Incin, and that would have really helped out. So they're going to Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt 62 to 6 is above 0. Don't get paralyzed. Great. Now is the question of, will this +2 Moonblast be enough to knock out Rotom? They could protect. I mean, they could protect, but that lets me recover. We luckily are faster, which is why I don't necessarily want to drop Feeny's speed for extra bulk, because that wouldn't have mattered. But let's see. This is max special attack type of Feeny, going for a stab attack into a half HP Rotom with no light screen. I want to say this should be a knockout, but I don't know. Rotom has a really big habit of surprising me, and like I said, the not going for a Grassy Glide also really hurt, because then I would have been able to swap out, and I would have been able to do that again, and probably have not been in this position. Okay, so they are going to protect, which I think is fine. You're going to let me get some recovery, and you're also stalling out your own electric terrain, which can benefit me, because 26, yeah, we are slowly approaching. There's one turn of electric terrain left. I'm going to go for a protect. I think I should be able to. I mean, you could nasty plot. Nasty plotting would be a really good call. I don't know how these mind games are going to work at this point. I do want to stall out the electric terrain. They could, like I said, they could go for a nasty plot, and then there's the question of, do you live? But I think not having to take the extra damage from Thunderbolt will make a big difference, because it was 62 down to 6, so it's 54. So 2/3 of 54 is 17? No, is 17 plus 17. So it's like 34-ish. So as long as I have like 35 HP, which I should just hit, 36. So I theoretically should be able to live another Thunderbolt if need be. Oh, or my opponent ran out of time. That was... I didn't actually know that happens that way. Interesting. So I think it still would have been me coming out on top because I don't really see... I'm going to actually run that calc real quick before the next battle. So yeah, let me check the calc on Tapu Fini versus standard Rotom Wash to see if I would have picked up a KO at +2, though I'm like 100% sure I would have. But yeah, with all of that, I will see all of you in the next game. All right, last game of the day, and yeah, I did check that calc, and there was no way, even at max HP, max special defense, that Rotom was going to live. So looking at my opponent's team, it is a Ninetales with Corviknight, Cinderace, a Cherrim, a Garchomp, and Liepard. So this is really tricky just due to the fact that my opponent does have a lot of weather control and a lot of things that benefit from it. Cinderace obviously being super, like, the main sort of thing. And what also makes it really tricky is that Corviknight. So I can't just lead something like an Intimidator because of the fact that I will just end up getting that bounce back to me. I like Stakataka a lot. I think the fact that it has Rock Slide is so good. So I'm actually thinking Dusclops, Zapdos, with the idea that we can get some big damage onto Corviknight if need be, Stakataka, and Tapu Fini, right? Because Rillaboom's not really doing anything, and neither is Incineroar. It does have those boosted Flare Blitzes, but that's really only relevant into two things that I think get handled better outside of that. And obviously the fear of Corviknight is you're just going to bounce back all of my Intimidates. So let's see how this goes. I think this lead is a little all over the place because it's like, oh, you want to be fast for Zapdos, but at the same time you want to set up Trick Room with the what's it called? The Dusclops. Okay, so we are going to see a Ninetales Corviknight. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about this lead, just due to the fact that we can either go for a Heat Wave, or Heat Wave I think is unreliable. I'd rather just go for a Thunderbolt. We do have Eject Pack on on the Ninetales, so I'm going to actually go for a Trick Room and a Thunderbolt onto Corviknight, just due to the fact that we are going to be faster, and I just want to pick up as much damage as possible. We are going to see the switch most likely into Cherrim. Okay. So a little bit of a passive lead from my opponent. We are going to see that Cherrim give everything a special defense boost, which is going to play a pretty big role, I think, overall. But even then, Stakataka, like I said, is very physical, so that's not going to matter too much. And we are going to see Roar. Okay, that's actually really interesting tech. And so that's going to force out my Tapu Fini. And so looking at what my opponent has, I honestly think Zapdos might be the best option to max, because of the fact that we can just go for a Muddy Water here, and then we can start Airstreaming, because we know Airstream will get us a speed boost. We can then... we do have Lightning for the Corviknight. I don't see Ninetales being too much of a... oh, no, Ninetales is Roar. I don't actually know what I'm talking about. They can just roar away my my max. So that was actually a really silly play. We're going to see a Protect on Cherrim, very smart. And then probably a Roar from that Ninetales. So I actually totally took information that I was given freely and didn't pay attention to it, because now we are going to, unfortunately, most likely lose our max, which is fine. Muddy Water, we could get the accuracy drop. I don't actually know if accuracy matters for Roar, but getting out Stakataka would actually not even be the worst position ever, because then we do have... okay, so they're going to overheat, and they're going to miss, which is great. We can, I think, Moonblast onto the Cherrim, and then go for a max Airstream onto the Ninetales, just because I want to hopefully pick up a knockout onto this Ninetales. I am afraid of it roaring out Zapdos, and I think if I can get... Basically, yeah, I want to force out Corviknight while I still have Zapdos maxed. We are going to get the Airstream off. Hopefully this picks up the KO. It does not. So that's really rough. Yeah, that's unfortunate. We are going to hopefully get the knockout onto Cherrim, though, with this Moonblast. They won't get a special defense boost anymore as a result. And so I think that that's really going to help. Okay, so they're just going to overheat, which is honestly fine. You don't get the boosts anymore, and we are going to have the Ninetales switch itself out. So that means what they could bring out the... Okay, so they're going to bring out Cinderace, which is fine. Cinderace and what? Cherrim? Maybe. And Corviknight. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky. I want to just... no, because Corviknight can bounce back. I'm going to actually go for the Muddy Water and... Airstream? What do I care more about? Corviknight normally carries Body Press. I care a little bit more about the Cinderace. Because just Cinderace has such offensive potential, and I think the fact that we got rid of Cherrim really helps out. Obviously, the fear is if they max Corviknight, but I actually don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing. Okay, so I was right. It is going to be the Cinderace, which is actually okay, just I think due to the fact that Stakataka is so physically bulky, and they don't really have a super, super good answer to, what's it called? Stack. Unless, of course, the Corviknight has something like a Body Press, and at which point I think, we are going to see the Muddy Water connect. It's not going to, unfortunately, pick up a knockout, but I don't see my opponent getting both knockouts. Because, yeah, that Fireball is going to go into Zapdos, and what is the Corviknight going to do? That, I think, is the interesting question. Corviknight is going to... Oh, and their Life Orb, which is actually really good. Corviknight's going to bulk up. Okay, so this is, unfortunately, a bulk up variant, which makes things really tricky. Because of the fact that it can go for a Body Press, and I don't really have a super good answer. I think we have to go for Dusclops, because I need to set up Trick Room for Stack. We can go for another Muddy Water pretty safely, and then I could Pain Split. I'm gonna go for a Trick Room. We have the way of getting it up safely. I think Stack has the potential to deal with Corviknight, especially if we can get rid of the Sun. I think that's going to play a pretty huge part. Unfortunately, yeah, they do have Mirror Armor, so they're not going to get the accuracy drop. We are, and I mean, Tapu Fini is already going to be faster. And Corviknight, yeah, it's just going to bulk up at this point. I wish this Dusclops had Haze. I know I'd considered that originally, and man, oh man, would that be great. But, I mean, what is its main damage into... Oh, that's actually also really bad, that they now get, sorry, a free switch-in into their Ninetales. I think I have to try and safely swap into Stack. Yeah, I need to just bring out Stack, and then, okay, so they are low with Ninetales, so we can... I think we go for a Moonblast, and Moonblast is not very effective in either. I'm going to go for a Muddy Water and then swap out into Stack. And then, I mean, I'm going to have to rely on a lot of Rock Slide flinches. I think, yeah, if we can get Stack to start dealing some big damage and we can have Feeny start Calm Minding, that's fine. They're going to go for an Iron Head into Feeny, 160 down to 75, which is fine. Do we pick it up onto the Corvic Knight? We do. So that's great. Stop dropping my accuracy. Yeah, Corvic Knight is going to be a little tricky. I mean, we do have Body Press, so that is really tempting. I want to swap Feeny out into Dusclops and go for a Rock Slide, because I'm hoping if we can get a defense boost, we can start going for big body presses onto the Corvic Knight. I know it is at +2, so that makes things a little difficult to say the least, but the +2 should definitely make somewhat of a difference. Let's see. And then we do have Feeny, which we can start going for Calm Minds to just go for a big sort of finale with Muddy Water if need be. We double connect on the Rock Slide, which is huge. It's going to do a little bit on the Corvic Knight, but at this point we are going to be able to single target it, and that should really help, especially because like we are going to be able to go for double damage. We do get a flinch, which is also really relevant. Do I want to Brick Break? I don't want to Brick Break. I'm going to Brick Break into Corvic. I could actually Ally Switch. I'm going to Ally Switch, expecting Corvic Knight to go for a Body Press and a Stakataka. So we can just play the Ally Switch game. Unless they call it right, in which case that's fine. We are going to be able to connect with this Body Press. Body Press is going to... Or, oh, it was a crit. That's a little bit unfortunate. They do Roost, which is really smart on their part, because now they did recover pretty much all of the damage I just dealt them. So I think actually we're going to have to play the flinching game of Rock Slide and Brick Break onto Stack, because I do need some damage. And yeah, luckily Stack is so physically bulky that this is fine. And I think at this point we can go for this Rock Slide. It is going to connect. I need a flinch. Yeah, I mean, that should be a solid 2-hit KO. You are trying to stall out my Trick Room. Oh, and you're recovering HP. That's actually bad. I'm going to go for a Body Press, and actually I'm going to... go for Trick Room Stack and... I'm going to go for a Body Press onto the Corvic Knight and go for a Trick Room on the Dusclops. If we live a hit... Okay, so you're back to Bulk Up, which is getting a little bit scary. I wish I had some way to neuter that Corvic Knight. Okay, so we do get the Trick Room up. What's nice is now the sunlight is gone, so we can bring out Feeny and hopefully get off some hits on the special side, because Corvic Knight is physically bulky. So we are just going to Rock Slide for the flinch and then swap out into Feeny. And now what we can try and do is, I feel like as long as they don't go for a attack this turn, hopefully we can get enough damage with the Muddy Water to negate all the HP they're recovering. So Rock Slide is going to connect. Sorry, frog in my throat. We are going to do a decent amount of chunk, and we do get the flinch, which I think is really big. The issue now is, what do we go for? I feel like I have to go for a Rock Slide and risk the miss, right? Yeah, I'm going to go for a Rock Slide and a Muddy Water onto Corviknight. We are going to see the Rock Slide connect, which is a big deal. It's going to bring it down to the red. They are going to Roost, which I think is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, what we can do is I don't even think we can play to timer because of the fact that this thing just keeps getting boosts and we can't lower its accuracy. Actually, oh no, that did bring it down low enough where I think a Body Press should pick up the knockout. Yeah, I think at this point, Corviknight has to... Let's go for a Body Press, and let's go for another Muddy Water. We are going to connect with the Body Press. It is going to hopefully pick up the Nah. No, it's not. Are you going to Roost? You are going to Roost, which makes sense given the fact that you are going to bounce back any accuracy drops, and this is going to do... Okay, so we actually have to go for the flinch at this point, and I think we've been getting pretty lucky so far. Actually, what we could do is we can predict the Roost and go for a Calm Mind. So let's go for a Rock Slide here and just try and boost up Tapu Fini a little bit with the idea that if we can get off one... oh no, we do miss. And they are going to Iron Head into Tapu Fini, which is really bad because now I'm guessing the Trick Room is going to expire. Yeah, this is a brutal endgame. Please. Yeah, the Twisted Dimensions are going to return. Yeah, we just got to keep going for... Yeah, I should have not gone for Rock Slide, but I mean, they don't really have good damage in the stack. I'm going to go for a Rock Slide anyway and a Trick Room with the idea that if you start hitting into Dusklight, or actually Rock Slide was a bad call because they're going to Roost first. And all I'm really doing is wasting PP. We do connect with the Rock Slide. It's going to do nothing because it's not very effective. Yeah, I think we go for a Trick Room. Not a Trick Room. We have to just start dealing damage into Corviknight. I really wish I had what's it called? What is it called? Nightshade. So let's just Rock Slide again and go for a Brick Break. They haven't hit into Dusclops, which makes this a little bit interesting. We do connect with the Rock Slide. Can we get the flinch, please? So this can be over. All right, we just need to hit... I think we just need to hit another Rock Slide with Brick Break, and this should be over. Please. I'm literally just begging. This game is awful. We do get the Brick Break, and now please connect with the Rock Slide. We do connect with the Rock Slide. Is it going to be enough? Please, it's not. Please get the flinch. Please get the flinch. Okay. I'll take it. I don't know if this is enough for a Body Press, and I don't want to risk it. I'm still going to risk it. I think I have to. And then worst case, what? They get... Yeah, so as long as I hit this Brick Break, or we get a crit with Dusclops. Wow, that was... That was long. Definitely did not think I was going to pull that off. Definitely, probably one of the longest battles I played in a very, very long time, and really not much to say about that. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to kind of push through. I know that sometimes I've really struggled in longer matches of holding my own, and the fact that this team really was able to and just keep putting on pressure really helped. And I think also the fact that Corviknight didn't really have good damage theoretically into stack, but it did have Body Press. So I think the fact that, I mean, I guess there never really was a chance for Body Press to go off because I still had Fini for so long, but I think I should have calm-minded with Fini earlier on, and that really would have made a difference. But yeah, great battles with this team. Like I said, I really enjoy it. I hope some of you try it out, and until next time, I hope all of you are wonderful, and I'll see you then.